Now, you may think that TV stars get glamorous places to work, but we're certainly not stars. We're just reporters, so that's why we work in here, which is basically just an old garage. But we're going to give you a tour, so come on inside with us. Now, we're going to start off in the newsroom. That's where all the real work happens.
So you're just going to line things up?
That's where we write all of our stories, and we enter it into the computers right here. That's our news director, and that's one of our photographers working very hard on the phone over there. And what we do is we type all of the information into these computers. That gets fed into a central system, and then from there, the producers can type out the stories.
Not really, no.
So that they end up with scripts. Then, when you see the words on the bottom of the screen, they have to be put there. They don't just start there. So we have story slugs that we write down everyone's name and their position. This is the studio where it all happens. The anchors sit up here on the desk, and they look into the camera and talk to you. But they're actually not talking to you. They're actually reading words off a screen. This is what it looks like. It's called the teleprompter. You can read the words off there just as easily. Now you come over here. This is the actual teleprompter machine. The producer feeds all of the scripts into the machine, and then a camera up here feeds it into the studio cameras. Now, once the anchor is sitting at the desk, they have to put on a microphone so that you'll hear them. That goes up through their clothes, and then they just clip it on wherever it's most convenient. Then this is how they work the teleprompter, by a little handheld thing. So while they're talking, they look out and see something very different than you might imagine. What they see is the studio cameras and the teleprompter. And you can roll it like this. Now, when you see someone doing weather on television, you'll see clouds and the earth and rain and everything else you can imagine behind them. But what it actually looks like in real life is just this green screen. There's nothing behind the meteorologists when they're telling you what the weather is. What they're doing so that they know where to point to is they're looking in a monitor, which is on the side of the stage. And that way, when they look over here and they're talking about the storm systems, they're actually just pointing to this plain old wall. This is the control room. This is where all of the technical stuff behind the scenes actually happens. The director will sit here and he'll push all the buttons when different videos should come up, and then you'll see the anchors again on the screen. They type all the information as to whose name it is and what position they have into this computer. Then there'll be a separate person who works the audio, because at one time maybe Nancy, the anchor's voice, will come up, and at the other time you'll hear Kurt, the other anchor's voice, come up. So they'll work all of the audio on this board here. Then we have a switcher who's in charge of when the commercials come up and who pushes the tapes for the shows. That's our switcher here right now, Dave, and he's working very hard making sure that all the commercials come up. Now, this is my photographer, Rich. I spend all of my time with him. Say hello, Rich.
How you doing?
Now, what he does is he takes video and turns it into a story. It's called editing, by using that editing board and 2 different tape machines. Now, he's going to show us how.
We press Insert Edit, and we put our in point in both tapes. Then we hit the Auto Edit button, and it'll lay our first shot. And depending on how long we want that shot, we can stop it and put our other video in.
And that's a tour of our station. We hope you had a great time and you learned something about how news works.